This is the Karen Mitches podcast, and welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be here. We were just talking about your whole setup.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Today, this is Matt Puzhitsky, and your podcast is the Puzhitsky podcast?
Puzhitsky podcast. Yeah.
Puzhitsky.
Yeah.
Did I get it the second time?
Yeah, you did.
Nice.
I wonder if, because I can't hear myself now.
You can't hear yourself?
No. Not that I want to, but it looks like it's working, so we're fine. You can hear me, right?
Will you go a little lower with your mic so I can see your mouth?
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to take these off. They freak me out. I'd rather just talk.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Yeah, you got the whole setup here. It's nice. I know it's we were just talking about how it's a little intimidating when you start the pod to figure out the monitor situation, what you're going to film with, the lighting, the microphones, the stands, the audio input device.
There was a whole point where I just wasn't getting any sound. It wasn't even like a bad sound. It was just no sound. And then eventually, then I got sound, but it was in slow motion. And I was by myself. So I just was like, am I just going to quit? Is that what happens?
Yeah, but like I said, I enjoyed figuring it all out by myself because it's like a challenge, like you said. And you like the challenge, but apparently not too much.
No, I don't know why. It stressed me out more than other challenges.
Right. I don't know, a lot of kids like to play Lego growing up. I hated that. I'm like, I don't want to, if I'm paying for a toy or my parents are paying for a toy, I want it to be fucking made for me.
Yeah.
What is this? I don't have to make it myself. I hate that. IKEA, Lego, never was into that. But this kind of stuff, figuring out, putting it together metaphorically, I like.
Yeah. I like following instructions.
Yeah.
So we always had tons of Lego from like older kids in my family or secondhand stuff. And someone had thrown out the instruction book and it was like, figure it out. And I was not going to do that.
Well, you figured it out. You have a better setup than me.
I cannot believe I figured it out. It's the best.
Congratulations.
It's my
Everybody, if you're
triumph.
watching this or listening to this, round of applause for Karen. She'll feel it emotionally. No, that it is cool. And like you have a great setup here in your apartment, but like once you like I just did a podcast in a gym where I interviewed my old former Muay Thai coach. Yeah. And we did it in the ring because all you need is an audio interface, a couple of XLR cables, couple of mics, and a stand. If the lighting, like you have the proper lights that we were talking about, I should invest in those, but I usually just use natural lighting.
Yeah. And I think that's better. Okay, so what I learned after I did my setup is you're not supposed to have different types of light. So part of the light in this frame is coming from my windows and part is coming from LED lights. And that's like a no-no in film because it has like different temperatures. So if the outside light is going to come in, then you should get like reflectors.
Yes.
And then, or you block out the excess light.
Yeah, I just got into acting. I've wanted to do it my whole life, and I finally got an agent and like took some steps to do that. And honestly, getting the agent was pretty easy, but because of comedy. But the cool thing is being on set now for like a couple months. I've been doing some projects, and I always see these dudes with these like weird like devices. And they're like going up to the actors and like fucking my forehead and then something behind me. And like, what are you doing? Are you like scanning my brain waves? They're like, no, this is for the light. They're like checking the light temperatures. Literally, they have a device to check light temperatures.
That's intense.
To make sure that everything matches for these proper productions. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I think for our purposes, it doesn't matter as long as this is multiple sources like clarity is more important because then we don't have the best. I also only just film on my phone. Yeah. So the lighting, the phones these days are good enough, but the lens, no matter which phone, like the iPhone lens is actually pretty big now, but it's not a DSLR. It's not one of those huge lenses, so it won't capture as much light. So you have to make sure whatever you're filming is very well lit.
And I think like when I actually look at my finished product, I like the look of it. Like it's and clean. I think what pisses me off often is just when things are dark. Yeah. Like there's so many movies and shows nowadays where it's just like I can't see anything.
And that's fine if it's an art. Like for Batman, I don't want Batman to be well lit if I'm watching it, right? I want it to be dark and well done. But like, if I'm watching the Karen Mitches podcast, I want to be able to see who I'm looking at, right? So it's a little bit of a different story. So I don't overthink it. I think just just make sure that like the subjects are well lit, which is the case here. You have the overhead lights, these ones, and some natural light, which is great.
So I know like you have your own podcast, so I don't want to like ask you really basic questions
Sure.
that everybody knows about you, but I kind of need to.
But I'm the interviewer, so I don't do a lot of podcasts, right?
Oh, so there's like details we haven't
I guess
talked about a lot.
I actually want to ask you a question first. How many episodes have you done?
19. This will be
19?
the 20th.
Wow. Okay, cool. So I've had the podcast for like over a year now, and I've only done 30. So you have a higher production rate than me. Good for you. But what have you learned about being an interviewer from your first podcast to now? I'm sure you've picked up some stuff.
So some of what I feel like my strengths and my weaknesses are like what is kind of like I know about myself from just talking to people. Like sometimes I don't just like listen and then let something be, because I'm very like reactive. So if you say something, I'll say something right back. Sometimes like later I'm cutting like the clips and I'm like, I didn't respond directly to what he said, or like I thought it was the opposite, and there's something kind of awkward in the moment of it, and I'm like, I should just calm down and not feel compelled to respond and respond fast. But I find like overall I feel like I came in strong with interviewing, and
What do you
I
mean by
like
that?
the way they turn out. Like
you had previous experience?
I didn't have previous experience, but I just found like I took to it naturally.
Okay. That's good.
It may
because
be also that I'm picking all my subjects. Like if I was working for a show and they were giving me people, it might not be the same as me being like, who do I think is funny in the scene, and then having them on.
Yeah, I found, first of all, I hate listening to myself back, which is something you actually kind of have to do to learn. Yeah. And so when I do listen to a podcast, it would usually be my own. When I do listen to my own podcast, it would usually be to edit something. Yeah. If I want to edit something, or the person said, hey, can you cut that out or whatever. So I have to scrub through it, and I end up listening to a bit of the conversation. And I hate it always. And I've improved for sure. And I think similarly to what you said, I don't know if it's in the same vein, but I've learned that the most valuable skill I've learned doing this podcast is when to shut up. And it's a valuable skill. It's harder than people think.
It's very hard.
How to listen and how to shut up. Yeah. And
you find like, okay, people will tell you something weird, and my instinct is always to like move on from that. Like if something weird comes up when you're talking to your friend, I'll just be like, oh, whatever, and keep going. But like when you're doing a show, like you're supposed to be in that. Like, oh my God, why? Oh my God, I can't believe you said that, and like build that up. But
sure,
I hate that.
Yeah, I don't feel I never felt the need to do that, because I understand that not a lot of people will be watching the show yet, and I look at it as the main reason that I did it is for the challenge of learning how to set everything up, and because, well, I do this kind of like, this is all I do, right? So like I want to eventually have a long career, doing stand-up comedy and acting or whatever. So mostly what I do for a living is speak. Yeah. So it's just a way for me to practice at home kind of and get some reps in. And I always say that a podcast is like, for a comedian, is like a comedian's Swiss Army knife, because it helps you like speak better, learn your tendencies, right? Those little shit words you use. When I started, and this translated to my stand-up, I would always say that's cool a lot. Like when I'm bombing on stage, or if I want to transition between jokes in my stand-up, I would always say, all right, that's cool. And like, it's do that.
A tick. It's like a tick. Saying like, but
yeah, exactly. So like is a bad one. I hate it when I say, everybody says it, even if you're very articulate, but I consciously try to avoid it. Yeah. And it helps to listen to how stupid you sound when you're like, so basically like I was like going on like I got like this like I don't know, like see, it's just, it sounds so retarded. And what else did I learn? The Swiss Army knife thing. So it helps you talk better. Yeah. And it's a networking tool, because when I was in Austin, I'd be like, come do my podcast. I'd meet a guy, and it's like an excuse to create some content and get to know somebody better. And also it's content, because that's the name of the game these days. And it's just when I don't have, because I put a lot of stuff out, and sometimes I have a slow week, and I'll just go back to a podcast. I'll put it into this into my Adobe, and I'll just make some clips out of it if I don't have anything to post.
Yeah. So I find like the networking part has been huge, even with people that I've talked to a lot.
Yeah.
I find once like they come over here and there's no other people around, I just know them a lot better.
Yeah.
Some people have just told me amazing gossip, or just things from like their experience in comedy, like how they made money on this or that. Like, just, it's not even like necessarily on the podcast, but sometimes we stop podcasting and then people just spill a bunch of shit. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, like even now I've learned to save the good stuff for the pod, because we were talking before and I was like, well, wait, let's turn the mics on, because that's what the podcast is for. And it's interesting how, and I've thought about this a lot, because these days with distractions and technology, it's true that in my life I rarely talk to somebody one-on-one like this, like when I do the podcast, because my podcasts are usually, I try to make them under an hour, but they always spill a little bit over.
Yeah.
And that's fine, whatever, that's something else I have to work on. But you're locked in with somebody for an hour, and that's rare these days, very rare. Like no distractions, even though there's microphones. You're aware
we've probably never talked to each other without one of us having a phone out, right?
Yeah. Like we've talked to each other. We've talked to each other on the stairwell at Keys. That's about it for a couple of minutes.
In the green room.
In the green room at Keys, yeah. So it's truly rare, and not only you and I, but like all my guests, and very rarely do you talk to anybody. Like my parents, my wife. Like I don't know. I should do a podcast with her just as an exercise.
I would love to see your wife
on the podcast.
I've only met her once.
Never gonna happen.
Like, are we like no details about her?
No. It's okay. I'll talk
like
about
all
her.
Russian people, but especially Russian women.
Yeah.
And she's just like especially like, I don't even know.
Very direct, very blunt.
Direct, and like I think when I talk to her, because I'm like older than her, I'm technically Gen X, and she was talking about her Gen X coworker that she loves, and I was just like,
I know exactly who you're
so
talking
Russian
about.
that you would want to go back to like the 90s.
No, she's great, she's awesome, and I definitely like and it's not like I would love to do a podcast with her, and that would be very fun. I might just do it for myself, like for us as like a exercise or whatever, but I make it a point, almost like an ethical point, to not include her in any of my, I don't like post about her or anything, because I think if I was just like had a regular job, I probably would more so.
Yeah.
But so when we were like a year or two ago, earlier on in our relationship, I included her in maybe like 2 or 3 skits, and each and every single one of these skits got like 5 million plus views. And she has a private Instagram. So she has Instagram, but it's private. And she has like, like less than 100 friends or whatever, like only people she actually knows. And she never uses it. And from these skits, people are like, who's the chick? Who's the chick? And there was like a comment thread that's like, all right, boys, let's find her. And they fucking found her from like a comment thread off of one of my videos. And the next day, she literally had on her private Instagram that like not even like, her closest friends, probably some of them don't have. She had like 300 plus requests, friend requests and message requests and fucking God knows what. So
yeah, that's
insane.
Really intense.
Yeah. So that kind of was an eye-opening thing. And at the time I wasn't, that was before, like right now I don't even have that many followers. I have a few, and enough to make a living off of it, but I'm not like a celebrity or anything. And back then it was even less. And if that happened back then, I can't imagine what would happen now, and I can't imagine what would happen if I eventually, hopefully, so to speak, make it.
Yeah.
I'm completely keeping it private.
Yeah, that's really intense. Every so often I'm like, should we be doing this?
Yeah. And I see a lot of influencers or public people, like when it's couples that are both influencers or whatever, that's fine. But like almost like kids is what gets me. A lot of like mom influencers or whatever with their kids on Instagram and stuff that are like 5-6 years old, and I'm like, there's no way they can consent to this.
Yeah,
you
like
can't.
My sister's kids who are in like grade 7 and 8 still don't have TikTok, and they'll be up on like a TikTok trend, and they'll make the video, but they can only send it to like
each other.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that's good. It's weird these days. I don't know what's gonna happen. How like the internet will affect. Well, we talk about kids a lot, but it's affected like, adults as well.
Well, yeah, because people will talk about, like kids will get addicted to screens, but the parents are already addicted. It does have, I think, it's already having a negative effect on adults.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the whole, like putting yourself out there is fine because it's your decision. And the more views I get, the more hate I get, and the more whatever I get, I'm fine. It's my decision. I can take it, right?
Yeah.
Like I get DMs, all sorts of DMs. People telling me they love me to kill myself. Dick pics, pussy, tits, whatever you want. Mostly, you'd be surprised actually. You know what? My DMs are full of like gay dudes and MILFs. Like, and I've never gotten a dick pic, by the way. Gay dudes are super nice when they slide into my DMs. They always give me compliments. It's the women that always send the pictures.
Oh.
That was a huge like surprise to me.
Yes. Women surprise you as they get older. We become very unhinged. I remember being at like a bachelorette where a number of the women had been married for years and being like, oh my God, married women are so horny.
Oh my God.
And not in a fun way.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That's why, I mean, these days, man, with all the poly relationships and all that shit and fucking, yeah, I don't know. Second half filled water bottle on deck. But yeah, it's good. It's cool. Good for you for figuring it out and already having 19 episodes. How often do you do them?
I do one a week.
That's good. That's really good.
This is the thing too. What I guess I wanted, I'm trying to think of all the reasons I wanted to do it. One was for networking, and another one was just to have content. So I try to have like clips from each one. So I want to have content, one every week. So I have something, because I haven't really figured out what I want to do in terms of sketches, and I don't want to put my stand-up out there yet because I want to kind of get it better and then record it properly.
Understandable.
And clip it. So.
And then you also said you want to get into filmmaking, so that was like a way for you to understand lighting, audio, cameras a little bit more, right? Yeah,
it's kind of like the thing, like if you're gonna have a startup, like a company, you should find a way to monetize it early.
Right.
And it's like, it's not that it's monetizing it, but it's like I have a finished product right now, even though it's very simple. It's like one frame.
Well, you say simple, but these are skills that are, and then editing too, you're learning how to edit, right? Like you said, you get somebody to help you sometimes, but eventually you'll do that yourself.
Yeah. So actually, like Andrew Basso is doing like putting the audio and visual together and editing each episode, and then I'm just clipping it. But then even that, I get Opus.
I'm assuming you use Opus, right? Yeah. That's
Which is amazing.
It's amazing. It's really cool. But you're still editing what Opus gives you, kind of, right? To some extent. So that's good. Do you what do you use to edit when you do edit video? If you ever do.
I'm trying to think of what it is. It's like the Windows one.
Premiere?
No. It's like Clip.
Oh, okay. So like the one that because Premiere is Adobe, which is like usually what Windows people use, and if you're on Final Cut, you're Apple.
Oh,
but I use.
Are you an Apple?
I'm an Apple now because ever since I started entertainment content, whatever, I got into Apple because that's a better kind of ecosystem to be in for content creation, like audio visual content creation especially. And but realistically, so I tried Final Cut, didn't really like it. I got this thing called DaVinci Resolve, which is really, I would say that's the gold standard if you're doing high level video editing. DaVinci Resolve is the way to go because it's good. It has good integration with Windows and Apple. But then I discovered CapCut, and it gives you 99.9% of what you need, and it's a million times easier to use. And it's completely worth, I would say, get CapCut Pro. and learn how to use. It's so straightforward. It's meant for like, you know, to be as easy to use as possible. I was gonna say like for retards, but yeah, it is. Like it's gonna help you so much.
Yeah. Because I've gone into the CapCut interface, like it is simpler, and I think the problem with some of them is they're too good. They've got all this stuff, but you have to like know how everything works. Whereas,
Yeah,
like,
but then that's how you do it. You just
seems
like, yeah.
more like simple and
Yes,
user-friendly.
yeah, definitely more simple. Doesn't have some of the extra features that, yeah. So like I said, it has 99% of what you need at our level, especially, and way beyond our level, truly. Unless you're making an actual like feature film, then obviously you need to do like, you know, there's a whole, what do you call it when you like edit the colors? You make sure the colors are like color correction, yeah, and then like audio. There's and then video.
So many layers to it.
There's so many, right? Filming. That's why like I have
also to figure out just like a simple sketch that I can do that's like not too much editing, just to get myself going in that direction. Because right now I feel like I have to go to film school, which I have a tendency to overthink things and then I can't start on them.
That's the advice I give all the comics that ask me, like, you know, how did you like get started or what did you just do it.
Okay, so can we go over your kind of journey so far? So like you started with like posting to TikTok. Yeah. Like comedy videos. So was the first one the Americans in Europe?
No, I did stuff way before that. I've been posting for a while, and then it started to kind of pick up like maybe like a couple of years into it. Okay. And then from that, it kind of like the way that you grow online now it's not a straight line. It's not exponential either. It's kind of you shoot up and then you like level out, and then you shoot up and then you level out.
Okay. So so how long have you been at it?
I would say like 2018, 19. So like 5 years now, 6 years.
And then at what point did it become your job?
It's been a year in August.
Okay, so you were really going at it. Yeah. Because you're so young, I just thought you were at it less time.
Yeah,
like you don't seem like you
Well, okay, so realistically, I've only been at it for... Okay, so like I've been posting for about 5 or 6 years. And then, you know, at the beginning, I was posting like very sporadically, once a month, if anything, a couple of posts for those first few years. And then when TikTok... it's actually whenever I got my new... like when did the iPhone 12 Pro come out? I don't know, whatever. Yeah, whatever year that is. That's because that's when I got the new iPhone, like better camera. I was like, okay, let's...
Was it during COVID?
It was about during COVID, yeah, I would say so. And then I started actually, like, you know, nobody had anything to do. I posted a few sketches. I was still doing chemistry at the time, which
is the other really weird thing about you. Are you the only guy in stand-up with a master's degree in chemistry?
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else. I'm pretty confident. Yeah, I'm sure there's other people with master's degrees in chemistries that do stand up, but I don't know.
You haven't run into one.
No, yeah, maybe if you're out there, hit me up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've met anyone who just has like a lot of. Well, there's some lawyers, I feel.
Yeah. Shanil, shout out. He's a really smart guy and very funny, and like. You know, everybody has like, there's, I'm sure there's like doctors that do stand up.
Yeah, I've seen a doctor out. Yeah. It feels like it makes sense with lawyers like that. Yeah, like that would be the most obvious lawyer hobby.
Yeah, they're good at communicating, and their job is to persuade, to some extent, is to persuade a crowd, depending on the type of lawyer you are. And also 99% of their job is paperwork. So, but part of their job is getting in front of a jury and, you know, getting them on their side. So what
do you think your friends when you were studying chemistry, like were there a lot of funny ones?
No. Not at all. No. I have a series that I'm trying to get off. I want to mobilize the nerds. Are you listening to me? I have a series on my Instagram where I review chemistry and science jokes that suck. There's like all these stupid jokes like, oh, why can't you invite an electron to a party? Because they're always negative. Shit like that I always heard these stupid nerds say. And I was like, that's so bad. And there's so much good stuff that you can do that I review the joke and do better jokes. I'm trying to get it. If I can be, you know how like these days, like a part of building a brand is finding a niche. So I have a lot, like I have, like you said, the Americans and whatever. I have my Slavic stuff where I play the Slavic dad.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very fun to do. And there's a lot of great creators like Jesse Georgie. He's a guy from Toronto that has done my podcast. He does like the Arabic dad.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I follow him.
Yeah, exactly.
His name is Jesse?
Jesse, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Shout out. Yeah, he did the podcast and we collabed. I did the Russian.
He's so good.
Yeah. So there's
he makes me want to call people Habibi.
Habibi, yeah. So, and it's the reason it hits so hard is because it's relatable, and that's a niche because people are like, this is my life, you know, like first generation immigrant from, you'd be surprised how many I do, like the Slavic parents, and I get comments from like, you know, like South Americans, you know, Indian, you know, Arabic, it's all the same kind of idea, right? With a different accent.
I grew up with Greek grandparents, so there's like a lot of older Greeks in my
Balkan
family.
Greek.
Yeah. And then when the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out, it was funny how many people who weren't Greek were like, but that's exactly like my family. So it's like, if you come from like any culture that's kind of like
not fucking, you know, Western.
Yeah.
Which is everybody, because, you know, I'll have to do a history lesson, but like that's why to a certain extent, like, yeah, it's relatable. Oh my God, that's so me. Like, yeah, stupid. Like, it's all of us. Yeah. Our parents are, and it's not, I don't think it's probably not a result of the culture, more so a result of the time. Like back then things were more strict. Everybody was kind of a certain way, and now everybody's this way, right? Like we have all these like with the internet, we were talking about the effect on kids, the effect that Facebook has had on my parents. There's nobody in the world that sends me more memes than my dad and my mom. These God. And my grandma too. She sends me these like Easter cards in Russian, and like my grandma, my dad, my mom, they all send me memes on like on Meta.
It's weird because when I post something online, it's possible that only one person sees it, and if one person sees it, it's my dad. Yeah. And he's 91. Yeah. So sometimes.
Oh, that's really cute.
Sometimes like I have to explain things to him. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't like someone I interview, he'll be like, "Who's this joker?" Yeah. And I'm like, literally, Dad, he's a comedian.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, my parents see. I wanna like. Sometimes I think about blocking my parents. I would never do that, but I'm like, just because like I don't want to. It's the number one thing. Like all the amount of views I've gotten from like whatever. Like number one people I think of are my parents. Like, what are they gonna think? And,
yeah. They're the only people where it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Even like I think my workplace doesn't care. Like they don't want to be involved in policing people, so they're never gonna make a deal of something unless it was like a hate crime. Like if I was getting into hate speech, but they don't care about politics.
All right,
they don't
let's talk about Kamala for a second. What do you think about her, man? We just go super fucking no, that's actually another question that I wanted to ask you is how, like, what do you do for work?
So I work for an investment company.
Yeah.
My title is fund treasury analyst.
Okay.
But it's basically I'm in like oversight.
Okay.
So I'm not doing anything interesting.
Okay. No, that just the general, like, that you have a full-time job, which is like interesting, because like I always wondered, because when I was even a student, like doing my master's, I had like, you know, I was teaching and I was doing research and I had a PI and professors and stuff, and I always thought of like what if they see my stuff? And they definitely did, because like people would, like, I was at my second year of my master's. So you asked me how long I've been doing this for. Quick side note on that, I have been, so like I said, like I've been posting for about 5 years, but like I only started doing it full time and truly being like podcast, consistently posting for only a year now, right? And it made it like this time last year I had 20K followers, so it was already solid doing it part time, and now I'm at, you know, like almost 90K, almost 100K on Instagram, not to mention TikTok is even more than that. So it makes a difference. As soon as I said this is the thing, it started to go up. But back to having a regular job, I was like, how is this gonna, because some of these videos get so many views, like what if people I know see it, and what if it impacts me professionally? That was a big factor in making the decision. And I know they were, because I was teaching. I was a master's student, and part of that is being a TA for first and second year university students. Ooh. Which was exactly my essentially target demographic for my skits.
Yeah, that's hard, because you're trying to have a reputation and a facade of professionalism with young people.
Yes, yeah.
And
I'm not
much older
right?
than them.
Which is fine, because again, my heart wasn't in it. This was where it was, and I knew I would probably end up doing this somehow eventually. And you know, I didn't know I would be lucky enough to like just be able to jump in it so quickly. But essentially, what happened was that during my later months of my, like the second year of my master's, closer to graduating, I would be TAing, right, in like a lecture hall, invigilating an exam, and like people would, at the end of the exam, like somebody would come up to me and be like, are you the TikTok guy? And I'd be like, yeah. He'd be like, oh, sick, can I get a selfie? And I'd be like, okay. And then somebody else would come up like, I knew you were the TikTok guy. And then people in my lab would find out, and then like it would like and then my professor's right there. So at the end, I had to like balance these things and make a decision. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it, like it's. And then after I made the decision, I stopped caring about like at this point, I don't know if I'd be able to get a normal job with the amount of shit that's out there that I've posted.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think, well, anyway, I guess what I find more exciting is just the fact that then you made that decision, and what it felt like to just be 100% focused on what you wanted to do.
It was, I mean, I want to say it was easy in hindsight. It wasn't easy. It was like, it's just a lot of doubts, and I still have doubts every single day. We all do, but it felt good. And because like, you know, it's not like I don't have a consistent, like, this is how much I'm going to get paid so I literally have to, like, I have no choice. I have to get paid. I have to pay rent. I don't live with I live downtown. I'm married. I have to help out my wife a little bit. You know, we don't have kids, thank God. That's something I'm going to hold off until I know I do want kids, but I don't want to choose between my career and kids. Yeah. I want to be stable in my career before I make that step. And right now, thank God, you know, we're able to pay rent, electricity, Wi-Fi, whatever, eat, and like all the money I make goes back into living expenses, and anything extra goes back into my content. So like equipment and travel and setting, like advertising my like tours or whatever. But it's working, and I have no choice. I have to succeed. Yeah,
it's how you pay your bills.
Yeah, I have no choice. I have to go viral. I have to sell tickets. I have to do the things I'm doing. And that's a different mindset than doing my master's, getting up and be like, oh yeah, I have this idea. Maybe I'll film it today. Maybe I won't. Yeah. I have to. It's my job. I sit down, I write, I film the skits, I post them.
Yeah, it's so intense. Like, I'm really, like, I admire you for doing that. Yeah. And I hate saying that. I don't know, because I don't like when people talk to me about my stand-up and just tell me how they couldn't do it. Yeah. It's something I would like to be able to do. So I feel, but yeah, I guess I'd have to be making money off of it to begin with.
But it's also fun, like stand-up. Like, it's like, you know, you like it. You do it because you like it. Yeah. It's fun. Like, with your stand-up, the fact that you're able, like, I've seen you do stand-up and do well. Like, if you're able to do that, you'll be able to do this. It's the same muscle. It only, like, everything that I do now, the beauty about going into it full time is like, you know, I call myself a stand-up comedian, right? I don't like it when people call me an influencer or a content creator. I'm a stand-up comedian in my head, which might not, I make most of my money off of, you know, brand deals and sponsored content and like online stuff. I sell some tickets, cool, but for now that's not paying the bills, right?
I get that the videos started making you money first, but no, I do think, because I've seen you do stand-up, you can say you're a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's what I wanted.
You wouldn't be on my podcast if I didn't think you were.
Yeah. Thank you. But you know, I sometimes I have that like internal monologue, like I call myself a stand-up, but like, you know, like I make money doing videos. So like, am I stand-up? Am I content creator? In my heart, I'm a stand-up, but I realize I have to do the other. These days, it's in like you have to do it. Even the most purest of. And anyways, what I was saying is that the beauty about doing stand-up and doing content and acting now I've gotten into is that they're all very complementary. Like when I write a skit, right, I have two hats. I have like, is it a skit or is it a bit? And so many of my bits that you've seen on stage originated as premises for a skit. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if this works. And sometimes I posted them and I'm like the jujitsu thing. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen like those jujitsu, but like I have like that started as a skit.
Yeah.
That did very well. I'm like, okay, there's something there. That's a premise. And I turned it into a thing on stage, a bit.
Yeah. No, it was funny because I had seen the skit and then I was like, and then I think it might have been one of the first times you were doing it because it was at like a probably open mic and you were, and I was like, I know this.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And a lot of the times it's the opposite. I say something on stage or I'm developing something and I'm like, yeah, you can definitely film that like and post it as a skit. And they're complementary. And then the acting helps because it helps you like, you know, getting into like comedic acting for skits and being on stage and acting, dramatic acting are completely different things, but they're very, like the skills are very cross applicable or whatever the word is. Transferable. Yeah.
What kind of acting have you done so far?
So I've been interested in acting my whole life, honestly. Like my first love in entertainment, kind of like watching TV, was stand up for sure. And like I really liked Russell Peters, like watching him on my iPod with my friends, like sharing earbuds, and I had like a joke book and but acting, like I'd watch like Disney Channel and I'd be like, oh, I'd really love to be in like, you know, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and like act. So it's always been in the back of my mind. And but I never really pursued it because I was always like, actors are fucking gay. I don't want to do that for a job. Like, what are you, like, pretending to do shit? Like, just do it. You know what I mean? In the back of my head. And then I actually started doing the skits and I'm like, whoa, like it's not, you know, and skits are by no means real acting, right? It's first of all, you're exaggerating. It's a certain type of acting, but it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy. And, you know, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But like the first time you set a camera up and you're like, I have this idea, it's going to be so funny. And you're like, okay, say these words. You're like, oh shit, that looks so weird. I don't know why. Cause it's like a certain, so then slowly doing the skits, I got more into acting and I'm like, you know, like I'll get this. There's a thing called Backstage online. It's like, you can like submit yourself for auditions and stuff. And I did a little bit of that, got some experience. And then, literally like a couple months ago, because of stand-up, I got an agent here in Toronto, and I had agents approach me, most notably when I was in LA, just for a few days for the Netflix festival.
Yeah.
I did some big shows, and then backstage there was some acting agents. They're like, hey, do you have like any like material or like, you know, like a reel, some self-tape? I'm like, no, I don't have any of that. So I'm like, I got to get on top of it because I'm going to ask this question again probably, and I want to say yes next time.
Yeah.
So I came to Toronto. I got headshots. I emailed, there's a list of agents in Toronto, ACTRA list. I emailed every single one of them. There's probably 100 on that list saying, hey, I don't have any experience, but I'm a pretty good stand-up. Here's what I've done. Will you take a chance on me? I got like a handful of responses, couple of interviews, and one of them said yes.
I love that you bring like almost like a student approach to it where you're just like, what's the criteria?
Yeah.
And then you just like go at it.
Yeah. Definitely my brain is more like analytical.
Yeah.
And I really like,
which people might watch this and be like, so what? That's nothing. But like when you're around comedians all the time, it's crazy the way people will just sort of like be dreaming things and have no direction.
I completely get it because I was in so long I had my sights set on a professional career. Like I did the MCAT. I wanted to be a doctor for a long time, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do consulting or chemistry, and I decided to go into this. But that's one of the factors that helped me make the decision, is because I know my strengths, and I know that like I was in comedy for a little bit at that time, and I was looking at these people who are funnier, like way funnier than me, but they just have no fucking clue. They're so lost. They'll do a show, they'll crush, they'll get drunk, and then they won't show up for something. I was trying to like organize doing like collaborating with them, doing skits. They won't show up. They're making excuses. They're just so scattered. I'm like, you know what? I'm not that bad at stand up either. And I have like ambition, direction. I know I'll be able to stay on top of my shit. If anything, getting my master's in chemistry, synthetic organic chemistry, was completely useless, but it taught me how to work. Truly, it taught me how to sit down and do the work. Because in chemistry, I was not the brightest either.
Yeah.
I was getting by because I did the work, because I knew how to work. And it was a bunch of nerds that are usually autistic, and they don't know how to, they're good at the smart stuff, but they're not good at presenting, talking. I was good at the talking part.
Yeah.
Talking to my profs, presenting at conferences. That's what got me by.
So I have this friend who did a degree in genetics, and then he sort of left that alone, and he went into like software. I guess he developed like a system involved in like high frequency trading. So he ends up in like, I guess like fintech as his career. But then he like made a lot of money doing that, and then he ended up starting his own biotech fund, which brought back like 15 years later he brought back the genetics degree.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the same thing is going to happen to you, where like you'll be really far along in your career and you'll somehow loop back to chemistry.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm trying to do these chemistry jokes. I'm like, so that I want to mobilize the nerds. I'm like, I know there's niches. Like I got completely sidetracked. The reason we ended up somehow at this point in the conversation was because we were talking about niches, like the Slavic skits, the Americans and whatever. And I have like the jujitsu skit. I have all these niches that I do well, but one of them I really want to be like nerds, like people that do have masters in whatever genetics or chemistry. Like they understand like academia specifically, kind of, and also like a little bit of like industry, but like they understand these like basically nerds. There are a lot of very smart people out there. Yeah. And I want to make some jokes for them. You can definitely go to the big cities. In Toronto, you can fill up I was going to say a theater, but probably even arena full of nerds that will understand those jokes. I also want to see like a sketch where you're either like a TA or like a new professor. Yeah. Especially because I feel like so many people are lost in academia. Like they can't get paid and they're angry, and there's the reason I did a master's was because I finished my undergrad in biochem and I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. I'm like, med school kind of, but my heart's not really there. It was socially acceptable stalling. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what it was. I got I'm getting a master's, I'm getting paid a little bit, and I got a scholarship, I'm getting paid to do my master's. Let's fucking do it. It was stalling. I didn't have anything else to do and I didn't want to get a job. I actually meet a lot of people in my field who have MBAs just because. Yeah, I thought about that, but. Yeah, they were bored and then they just did it. Those fucking things are expensive. Yeah. Getting an MBA for fun. I guess there's the subtext there that you have rich parents. Yeah, getting an MBA for fun, that's a lot of dough. Yeah. That's a lot of cash to throw for no reason. No, I've been my sister did hers, but she wanted it. Like that was, and it is very useful. Ambitious and knew what it would mean for her. But I was talking to somebody about this recently, and I think education in general these days, there's already a huge change after COVID. Like everything's online now for everything, but education specifically, the way we teach people in preschool all the way through postgraduate studies is so kind of outdated. I feel like the methods and the material, realistic, like there are certain things that you won't change. Like you're never going to change the high school curriculum for like biology or math, because those things are kind of set in stone. But I have a buddy also named Matt in med school, and it's funny, I took him to an open mic. He's a doctor that did an open mic. Nice. But we studied for the MCAT together, and he's now in third year of med school, and I'm a fucking comedian, so that's funny how that works. But or I should say, actually, I'm unemployed. But he he's doing a thing now, what do you call them, a rotation or not a residency. Residency is anyways, he's in hospital actually learning the part of his med school studies where he's in hospital. Yeah. And he's doing a stint with internal medicine, which is where you learn when something happens and you go to the ER per se, and if you're stable enough, if the people don't have to like revive you or whatever, the people from internal medicine come and try to solve the puzzle of what the fuck is wrong with you. They're the ones that say, okay, they ask you a bunch of questions, check a bunch of boxes, run a bunch of tests, and say, probably this is it. So it's like, it's very interesting, but that field of medicine specifically moves so quickly nowadays because research is so advanced and like new things are uncovered, and our understanding of certain systems or things that we thought were facts are changed so quickly that like by the time he's finished his rotation, the textbook might completely change on what we think a disease is caused by or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So by the time you finish your education, the stuff you learn might be updated, completely changed, or inapplicable.
That's crazy.
So you have to keep up with this info.
So, but do you think the whole model of teaching will change? Like will grade 3 look different? Will grade 12 look different?
And by, again, content-wise, I don't think so, because like grade 3 math is always going to be like whatever, addition or whatever they do, right?
Yeah.
At a certain, up to like second, third, fourth year of university, those like the less niche courses, like first year university, chemistry, I'll talk about chemistry because that's what I know. Like those things are going to change. The kind of facts, it would be like very, like physics, for example, right?
Yeah.
First year physics, the things you learn are Newtonian physics. Those things have been around since Newton, an apple dropped on his head. But very recently in like 2012 or even maybe earlier, so recently enough in the scope of physics, they discovered gravitational waves, right? Which is a Newtonian concept, gravity applied to first year. So the textbook changed there. They're like, oh shit, gravitational waves are a thing. And that might even be second year physics, but stuff will change. And to that, so that's the content. And in terms of like modality, like how you teach, that has to change as well, because with all the tech, that stuff is changing day to day.
Yeah. And I guess it's confusing too, because when you have tools like ChatGPT or like
right
I feel like even things like Excel, like I don't know, like things just become so
useless.
Much more advanced, so then you still need to do like the little kid stuff and understand the principles, but then the way you're writing papers and doing an experiment,
like there absolutely should be like a computer class and then eventually maybe an AI class where kids learn to use AI in the right ways, right?
Yeah.
Without and whatever. Like there is like VR now, and there is fucking so many things that we didn't have. Like I honestly don't understand why they teach algebra to such a like why algebra is unless you're going into academia or going into physics or something like engineering, and you have to go down that path, you shouldn't have to learn anything past like very basic algebra, and instead I think curriculum should focus on like teaching kids how to do taxes, or like and that's not a hot take by any means. That's been said a million times over, but it's so true. It
deserves to be said again.
No, but like, yeah, it's such like a rudiment. Like it just makes so much sense. Why not? Like me, I'm fucking 25 years old now, and now I have my own business, right? So I registered my own business. All the money I make, I have to pay taxes on. Thank God my mom's a certified accountant. She's a CPA. So.
But have you ever used Simple Tax?
No, I know whatever she used, TurboTax or whatever.
Because Simple Tax is what I started using, and I found it like it almost does. It's smart, right?
Yeah.
And my taxes are simple, so it does kind of tell me what to do. And I was telling this RMT about it, and he was saying like when he does his taxes for his business, he's like, yeah, Simple Tax sort of like just taught me. This is not an ad for that.
Yeah.
But I just think once you get the more like intelligence built into these programs, it does kind of teach you, because it looks at your thing and it goes, oh, did you have extra income this year? And then it'll show you what form to pull in for that. Like it asks you like, do you own a property? And then it'll tell you what to do.
Yeah, that's cool. I just tell my mom to do it.
That's
It's even more Simple Tax for me. So my mom is Simple Tax.
You've got
sometimes
a Russian
I call her
accountant.
Simple Tax by accident. I'm like, hey, Simple Tax, what's for dinner? And she smacks me in the face.
Sorry, both your parents are from Russia. Your mom's an accountant.
So they're from Latvia. They grew up in Latvia.
Oh.
But we're Russian ethnically. But like my last name is Polish. I have some Ukrainian in me, some German. But mostly Russian. Yeah, like 90%. I did my 23andMe to see if I was related to Christina because we have the same last name.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Christina P.
Yeah. Her last name is Puzhitsky. How insane is that? My last name is Puzhitsky. I'm like, there's fucking, and we're both like, she was born in Windsor, Ontario. Did you know that?
You told me she was
Yeah,
Canadian,
she's Canadian,
at some
yeah.
point.
Yeah, so I did that 23andMe because she did it too, and we to see if we were related by like in any way, and no, not at all, no relation.
Oh, that's
So,
crazy.
it's not nepotism. She has me open for her because I'm funny. Fuck you, Toronto comedians.
Okay, but so Latvia is where your parents grew up?
Yeah, they grew up in Latvia. They met in Latvia. They were born in Latvia. Yeah.
I just went to Latvia this year.
Really?
We flew to Berlin and then we were like hopping cities all the way
Wow.
up to Helsinki.
Cool.
So yeah.
How'd you like it? Riga?
It was so cool.
Riga, right?
Yeah, Riga.
That's where my parents met.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so all those like Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia.
Yeah.
They're just like
It's a
there's
different
so-
world. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of nature, even within their cities. Lots of overgrown forests.
And Latvia is tiny. It's so small. You can drive from like the longest distance across Latvia. You can drive it in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like they have a really good vibe there. It actually feels like, you know, like a lot of places in Europe are
Yeah.
really overrun with tourists.
Yeah. Nobody, like, not a lot of people are going to Latvia to visit.
Yeah.
to
So
see
it's
this,
very like,
Yeah, it's really cool. And they have an interesting actually history with Russians because they don't like them there. Like they don't like them anywhere really at this point. And you know, other than Russia, and even there we don't like each other. So, but there's like a lot of bylaws there now that you can't even speak Russian, right? You have to speak Latvian,
shit.
and it's because my grandparents came there. And you know, my great grandparents were like, you know, they're all to some extent involved in the Second World War, like usually, you know, fighting for the Soviet Union, like directly on the front lines. And at the end, when the war ended, they were like, okay, go be Russian somewhere. That was their retirement pension. It's like, you take, you know, be a good representative of the Soviet Union in whichever.
oh,
like,
so they're trying to
yeah,
spread
yes,
Russian culture
values,
into.
yeah. And then I guess one of my grandpas chose, great grandpas chose Latvia. And I don't remember what the other options were. I think there was like even Germany probably was an option, right? And that's how they ended up in Latvia. And that's why and I think I don't think ethnically I'm Latvian at all. If maybe like a small percent, no, very little. There was, yeah, so ethnically, again, mostly Russian, but my parents are from Latvia. Yeah, that's how that worked.
Have you been to Russia?
No, never.
Do you want to go?
Very much so, yeah. Like, very badly, because I'm married to a Russian woman now. Her family's kind of there, and it's hard for them to come here.
What part are they in?
Right now, they're between St. Petersburg and a small city in Serbia called Surgut. Serbia, fucking Siberia.
Okay. Nice. So are they nervous at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I can't speak on how things are there too much because I don't live there. Because of this, it sucks. My wife hasn't been able to see her family now. She's only been able to see them like once in the past 2 years, right? Like
Yeah.
they came here, and it's expensive for them to come here.
Fuck.
They can go to places like Turkey, and like there are places where like their visas allow them
because I was
to
just
go.
talking to Danton, and he's married or engaged to a Russian,
Right,
and they
yeah.
were going to Turkey to
Right.
meet up with her parents.
Right. Yeah. So we're thinking about like what to do for our our ceremonial wedding or whatever when like we actually have the celebration to make it easier on them because we want them to be there. Like we're married now, but her parents weren't able to come to the actual wedding because
Yeah.
So
Are you gonna do a second ceremony?
yeah, we will. Yeah.
You should
yeah.
do a Greek island.
A Greek island. Does that work? I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out.
I love weddings.
Yeah. Me too. It was fun. Yeah, like that's a whole thing. It's crazy.
Where did you guys get married?
City Hall.
Was it romantic?
I loved it. My only close to my. I was very sad, and it sucks that her family couldn't be there. But that's actually we became closer because she was here and we were dating, and then this whole thing happened like while we were dating, and that actually brought us together because I became her family, right? Like she became isolated from her family, and at a certain point she wasn't able to like send money or receive money from her family because she'd go to the bank and they'd be like, okay, where do you want to send money? And then she'd give them the Russian passport and they'd be like, can't do it.
Shit.
So
and you get what like people were trying to do with like cutting off like oligarchs and certain people, but like there's
but like people
so
like
many Russians
everywhere
in Canada who are just regular working people,
which sucks, right? And but it was just my closest family at our wedding, and it was very small, and then we had a little dinner afterwards at a restaurant nearby. It was called fucking I don't remember, but the steak was good, and it was like we had a little private room, and that's where I found out what a sommelier was. I have a joke about that too, where I was like booking the room and all these boring websites, and I was like, I chose one where what I thought it was a Somalian, but it's a sommelier. I was like, sick, this place is fun, they let you have a pirate themed dinner. I was like, fuck yeah. But that's when I found out what wine pairing was, and that was fun. So it was a good wedding, but I know that we're gonna have to do something more proper, right? Yeah. For if anything, like I don't give a shit. All that matters to me is that, but for her, obviously, yeah.
Nice. So what are your plans for like? Are you like touring more?
Yeah, so I've been touring a little bit now this summer, just around local places, just in, I guess, Eastern Canada. Like, I've been outside of Ontario, like all the little towns in Ontario, and, you know, like whatever, like Bolton, Kingston, that stuff. And then just like Ottawa, Montreal, which has been fun. But my plan is to hopefully eventually get a visa and go to the States.
How have you had any kind of like touring lessons that you've had to learn?
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned this doing shows with bigger comedians in definitely not the United States, because I would never illegally do comedy in the States. Actually, I've never done that in my life. So only open mics. I was doing an open mic and I happened to see Sam Morrell there. Crazy that when he would drop into an open mic. Yeah, such a cool guy. So we talked a little bit, and you know, I buried him. No, I'm kidding. After I buried him, we had a great but so like seeing pros like that, and like obviously like Christina, crazy, like just seeing them perform, and so I realized really quickly when I come back, I always feel like I level up, right? When I come back here, and in a way that like I try not to do crowd work. I just do bits and try to build my hour. And because the best thing about touring is that I headline my own show, so I can do as much time as I want. Nice. And most recently, this last show I did in Collingwood a week ago, I did almost 40 minutes. I did like 36 minutes.
Oh shit.
And I was like, okay, cool, we're getting there. And it was just material, right? A few, obviously, like there's a crowd, so I'm like, hey, what's up? Like a little Collingwood joke, and bits, just bits. And I didn't even do everything I wanted to do. I can, like, you know how
I've been writing.
I've been writing. So I did that helps a lot, getting those longer sets, learning how to stretch your legs. Yeah. And just doing that constantly is great. And there are certain things like that and crowd work has its time and place, and it's a very valuable skill for a comedian to have, but I try to really, really focus on as much as I want to. Even when I'm at keys and the show is shit, just do your bits, just work on your bits, build that hour, right? That's number one thing. And there's also having evergreen material, right? That's something actually the conversation I had with Sam was very eye-opening, because it was like right before he filmed his current special that just came out of like a month ago on Amazon.
Oh shit.
And when
I didn't know there was a new one.
Yeah, he has a new special. Check it out on Amazon Prime. And I talked to him like a month before that was filmed, and it was really cool because we were at this bald guys club, and we were in the green room talking, and we both showed up really early because it was our first proper set at that club, like in the big room, and
in the big room at the bald guys club.
At the bald guys club, and basically we were really early because I didn't know. I was like, the show, if the show was like at 8, I came at like 7. I was like, and we were both the first ones to be there, so it was just me and him there for like 40 minutes, and we were just talking, and I probably kept him there because it was like podcast style. I was asking him so many questions, but he was like happy to answer, and it was really cool. So I wasn't gonna stop until he like left. No, but we literally just talked until the show started, and he told me stuff about touring and how he's tired of his he's excited to write new stuff, and that he's tired of going up there, and like, and even though he has his current hour like, you know, down, he wants to do new stuff. And he talked about, I got evergreen material from it, which means like stuff that doesn't expire. And it was interesting because it was a very different place to be, obviously, than Toronto. And like, you know, you can't do TTC jokes there. And I was talking to him a little bit about that, and he's like, yeah, you learn that touring, and you do, even doing shows in Ontario in different towns, you can't do TTC jokes there. So you have to do stuff that travels. And you learn what that means real quick when you do shows outside of Toronto, stuff that travels. And that's stuff that's universal, right? These videos that go viral, none of them are like very niche, or they're very relatable and universal. They're about the human experience, and it's something general that a lot of people can relate to. And that's the kind of stuff you want to talk about. And that is not always what you want to talk about, because, you know, we're artists and we have our specific things that we find interesting. And I really think it's important to talk about what you want to talk about, because that's when the best stuff comes out. But if you want to make a living doing this, you have to make sure that most of it is stuff that is relatable to a wide audience of people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
it depends on what you're doing it for, right? Like I said, like I see this as much as I'm so lucky to call myself a comedian, and to be able to talk to you guys and call you my peers, and it's awesome. I love everything. Bombing, I love crushing, I love before, I love after. I love sitting at a table at an open mic, having, you know, myself with a master's, yourself with a job, Chenille with who's a lawyer, and, you know, Matt Baxter, who's a crackhead who probably just fucked a tranny. Like, I love that experience, that you can't get that, and we're all connecting.
It is like the most interesting community of people.
Yeah. So that's awesome, but you have to understand, like I said, as much as I love that, in my eyes, I enjoy that and I love what I do, but I'm a professional and I need to make money doing this. And that's why I kind of...
Yeah, because some people just do it as
a hobby, and it's fine. You have, that we need that, right?
And if you have a good career and you just want to have fun, it is a really cool hobby and you make tons of friends. But I get it, what you're saying. Like, when you want to do it as a job, like, you have to do it the way that it's done. So I try to bring, again, and I try not to overdo it, because at the end of the day, you can't have a stick up your ass doing this thing. You have to have fun. You know what I mean? That's like, you have to get up there, and it's a big, you know, like, before I get on stage, I'm just like, all right, chill, have fun, you know, do your shit, commit to your bits. That's it. I remember a friend of mine who's more of like an angry comedian. She said, like, even when you're doing an angry rant, you have to be having fun with it, and or the audience won't interpret it as comedy. They'll just feel like you yelled at them.
And I think the core of that is, like, you have to want to be there. If you get on stage and you want to get off, like, the audience feels that. If you're having an angry rant on stage and there's nothing more you want to do than telling this audience about whatever you're angry about, like, fucking listen to me, that's so captivating. Look at, like, that's another, that is an art form. Like, fucking look at all, like, politicians, often that's what they do. Mr. Hitler himself, very good at that, right?
I also find it, like, and I think this goes back to something I was saying earlier, but it's like, if I'm on stage and something weird happens, like, I'll want to, like, just gloss over it, but it's like, you have to do the opposite and almost, like, make a big deal of it. Like, even if it's awkward, like, pull that energy.
Yeah. And we learned to do that at Keys, for sure. Wield energy.
Oh my God. It is the strangest room in the city. I was actually just trying to contemplate whether I should put this one, because I did this weird set about like destroying the sun, and I'm like, this isn't going to be part of my material, so I'm like, I should just put it online, and it's at Keys, and it's a very like Keys sort of set with like,
That's interesting. Yeah. Keys is a special room. I did a show there last week with Deshaun, and it was me, Deshaun, Chris went on it, and some other Keys regulars, and we all ate shit. It was the weirdest audience ever. Like, sometimes audience at Keys don't give you a lot, but there's a few chuckles. And either they're scared and they're chuckling because they're scared, or like, you know, like Stockholm syndrome chuckles, but these guys, they were all engaged. They seemed relaxed, but they were just none of them. Dude, Deshaun was hosting, and then we slowly kind of got to them, but I was talking to Deshaun after, and I'm like, I think the only way this place can work is with Key Epic. There's no other human being on earth that would make this place work. Something it's about him.
Because when they see us do it there, they're like, this isn't a real
he's a
comedy
scapegoat.
club. Who are you people that you would do this to us? But when they see Key, they're like, okay, he's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
And then they accept that the circumstances are strange.
And then we get up and we shit on Keys and the place itself. Even though we love it, he's a scapegoat for us. He's a punching bag for us. And the audience loves that. They relate to us. We're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. This isn't a real wall. This guy fucking sells, lithium in the back.
My favorite, though, is when Key will show the TV and how well he thinks it's hung there, and then
he'll hang on it. And then the good thing about that is because he is such a unique character, and he's a genius. I feel like that's
no, but I remember like the first show I did there, I got like a bunch of my friends to come out for it, and they loved Keys more than they loved
anything else.
Set.
Right?
Yeah, it was just like, he was a funny guy. The place was weird. It was like they went on this weird adventure. Yeah. And that's the best kind of
way
people
to
go
look
to
at
Keys.
it. Yes.
Some people go there and they're like, well, it should have been a different experience. And
And the thing is that we've like built up this like almost cult audience, because there are like return customers now. You see the same faces there often, and they get it. They're there to laugh, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, and then because they're there, the other audience members feel more comfortable, and then because we get up and we shit on the room itself and Key Epic and Kevork, and they feel comfortable, like they're like, okay, we're relating to them through that. That's like it's like an easy kind of trick at Keys to
and then
warm
it has
up your
more
set.
of like the underground kind of vibe.
But anyways, the point being that I did a show there, and that Keys was gone because he won't be here today either. He's in Mexico on vacation. So but he puts that place together, ties that place together. We'll see how it goes. Today should be fine. It's the Thursday show.
Okay.
So
because I've seen the Thursday run by like Shibby and Lester before.
Those go well. So we'll see what happens. I can't wait to go there though and try some stuff.
Okay, I've loved having you on.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Matt Puzhitsky. No, wait, let me say it.
Puzhitsky.
Puzhitsky.
No, I'm kidding. Puzhitsky. Yeah. Pushits. One of my high school teachers called me Pushits.
Actually, that's amazing.
That's funny. Yeah.
If we were in grade school, I'd call you that.
Matt Puzhitsky. Check me out on Matt Puzhitsky on whatever, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Check my stuff out. I'm around.
Nice. And I'm Karen Mitches, and you can find me on socials, and you can find me every fourth Monday of the month at Backroom Comedy, hosting Funny Bitches with Karen Mitches.
Oh, that's sick.
Thanks.
That's a funny name for a show.